Apparently, this is supposed to be a podcast and not a therapy session, but here we are, one question in, and I already feel like cultural trauma surfacing.
Oh my God, am I getting paid for insurance? All right, so... Welcome to Two Sides of the Pond, the podcast where two friends, one from the USA and one from the UK, explore the quirks, culture, and camaraderie that unite and divide our two nations. Join us each week as we dive into everything food, politics, and pop culture, sharing our perspectives and having a good long laugh along the way, where whether you're an American or British or somewhere in between, there's something here for everyone. So let's get started.
I'm going to jump straight in there because there's somewhere in between. I'm interested of what that is because there's a massive pond in between the two of us. So other than a couple of islands, you don't really have many people other than perhaps the deceased on the Titanic. But there's nothing else there. So who are you referring to?
I don't know. Don't whales have podcasts nowadays? I mean...
If they don't, they should.
We can get ourselves like an echo. It's kind of like the company that is doing this is Deep Ocean, correct? Like, that's who's the parent here. So
kind of, you're almost there.
Well,
you got half of the name right. Straight away, just get the parent company name wrong.
In my head.
Brilliant.
I have a goal of getting canceled in the first 10 seconds.
You try to get cancelled by DARKOCEAN, by the parent company. Is that what it is? Not by the public, not by you guys, but by the parent company.
Well, it's always been my goal at any job that I do to get fired within the first 5 minutes, and I might have done that today.
You may have done that.
Yeah.
Well, there are some things. There's some things that definitely wind me up when it comes to the parent company because it's all one word and it's all capitalized, right? That is the brand.
Yes.
Can anybody ever get that right? Everyone's always typing it, two separate words, lowercase. It's like, it's not the brand. Like, look at every single response email or anything online. It's typed in, it stands out, right? It stands out in your face. I'm not doing it for the good of my health. I'm doing it because that's the brand. But no one ever gets it right. And here you are saying Deep Ocean rather than Dark Ocean. So, I mean, what are we even doing here?
See, when I was headhunted, or so to speak, or when I was addressed by the company itself, and they said, hey, look us up, this is what we do. And I looked it up online. I will tell you, I saw nothing but like robots that go underwater and take pictures of the Titanic. So I was confused. So maybe the brand needs to work on branding. Yeah, well, maybe the brand needs to work on branding. However, this being our inaugural podcast episode, we should get people to know who we are before we're going to lay it out there and just put it out there so people know who we are as we move forward. This way they don't look up like both sides of the pond. They actually look up two sides. So why don't we start with you? We'll start really controversial. Your name and age. And where are you?
Age.
Yeah, we're going to do ages too. Nothing's off the table. Yes.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad you're setting these boundaries straight away because that gets it good. I've got my stress ball ready as well. My awesome Union Jack stress ball, and I also have, as you can, just in case anyone's confused, that I am the Brit in this equation. Just in case. This is the most patriotic I've ever been. I think I've ever bought anything Union Jack related, and here I am with a stress ball because I know you're going to piss me off. And then I have bunting around the room as well. So I feel very British, which is weird. But there we go. But I'm Matthew. I am 33 years old. I was born in 1991, so I'm a 90s baby, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. How about you?
All right. Well, my name is Dwayne, and I am a little older than that. I was born the year the original Star Wars movie came out in 1977. I am the dumb American who currently lives in Florida. I am down there in the Disney World state, as you can tell with everything going on in my background. And by way of New Jersey, right next to New York City. So I have lots of lots of information about urban and rural things and living. So that's what I have going on here with me. That's
Yeah,
who I
as
am.
worth mentioning as well, I'm from the southwest of the UK, because most people, when they think the UK, they think London. Maybe some think Birmingham for some strange reason, no idea why, but most think London, right? And people ask me, where are you from? I say the UK. Go, yeah, but where? It's like, well, there's no point me saying where, because you ain't going to have the faintest idea where it's from. So I say, I'm from Exeter in Devon. Like, where's that? It's like, exactly. So why ask the question? Is it near London? No, but let's just say it is. Yeah, it is easier. But for those who don't know much about the UK, the Devon and Exeter is at the southwest. It's the little tiny tip of the UK, and it's one of the closest parts to where you are in Florida. So there literally is more or less only the pond in between us. It is coast to coast, which I think is quite fitting for what we're trying to do here.
Oh, absolutely. So how did we meet?
Oh, so we haven't known each other all that long, although it does feel like it's been years. I mean, I was talking to you yesterday, and I think I said something like, the past 2 years, but it's like, well, it hasn't. It's been the past 6 months. But it felt like it's been 2 years. I feel like I've known you far too long. But yeah, so in terms of how we met, I travel to the US quite a lot. I do enjoy going out there. And quick shout out to Connor as well, who is our chief of design. He's done all the graphics for this, and he works within the company as well. I traveled out to Florida with Connor. We were going on a cruise around the Caribbean. But whilst you're in Florida, you may as well make use of the time in and around the area. There's lots of things to do, entertainment wise. As you say, it's the capital of theme parks and Disney and whatnot. And we attended one of the things you can do there, and you were actually the staff member that looked after us that day.
I was.
And
hello to Connor. By the way, hello to Connor and all the hard work you've done so far to get us to this point. But go on.
He has done a lot. Yeah, he has done a lot. Connor is fantastic. Couldn't do any of this without him. So we got on really well. I think you and I think spoke the most out of the group that day. And which is something that I generally do as well. I quite find it interesting speaking to new people that have, obviously similar interests, because you wouldn't be in the role that you're in and whatnot if you didn't have similar interests, unless you're just a bit of a muppet when it comes to the work you do for a living. But so it's quite fun. It's quite a fun chat. And what I discovered quite quickly is you're quite outrageous, the same way that I am, and we had quite a unhinged group of people with you that day, and that was really fun. But that was that really. I met you, I said goodbye to you, and I thought, cool. Well, that's that person's out my life. That's it. But I then returned to Florida in September, because it ties in my birthday. So I'm born in September. So ever since my 21st birthday, I've celebrated it in America, because 21 is more of an American celebration, where in the UK it's 18 is when you're an adult. So for my 21st, I then went to America, and I've sort of done that more or less every single year since. Every single birthday, it's just I just go back out to America for reasons I don't really know, just because. And yeah, I decided to redo some of the things that I did in April, and I specifically asked to be able to be within your group, because that really made the difference in April, and you stupidly agreed to do it. And yeah, we then spent 2 days together chatting like we did before, and it sort of then became this
a thing.
A thing. It evolved very, very quickly.
So last night I referred to our relationship, as short as it is, as a marriage of some sort, which is very interesting, because I think we had our first, as you call it, a row last night, where I already knew you were screaming at your phone while I was typing to you. And I was like, just stop screaming at your phone and tell me what you're thinking. Because I could totally see you doing that. Like, you stupid ass Muppet, and throwing your phone across the room. So I do think we have clicked in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think we irritate each other enough that it works.
Yeah. And there's respect. There's totally respect happening here, which is great. Now, my story slightly differs, I would say. Well, not a whole lot, but my perspective of it all. Yes, everything that you said was true. I will say that I meet people from literally all around the world, obviously, and I don't click with just anyone. It is a job. I am fortunate enough to spend hours upon hours with a lot of people from whether they're from Asia, whether they're from Florida, or anywhere in between. And one of my really good friends is actually from Australia, who I met at work as well. So the fact that you had the balls to stand next to me throughout the day and actually want to talk to me that first day was enough for me to say, you know what? He remembered me. Not a bad guy. I wouldn't mind spending a couple of more hours with him. And I said yes, and I'm very happy that I did, because I don't say yes to everyone, despite what it says on the bathroom wall. And here we are.
It's interesting you say that, because I remember you told me the story about your American friend when I met you the very first time. You said that you actually met your best friend, doing what you do.
My
and
Australian
I remember talking
friend.
yeah, and I remember talking to Connor about that, and I said that in terms of the way I'm going to meet people, because I work quite a lot, and it's I work in engineering and creative industry stuff, so it's very sort of isolated and inside. It's not around that many people with the sort of stuff that I do. So it's where you think somebody like you meet a lot of people, so it's very easy for you to meet loads of people, and you have the opportunity of befriending people if you wanted to. Whereas a bit different for me, because I don't meet that many people. But I said to Connor, I said, if I'm going to meet people, it's doing stuff like this. It's doing the things that I enjoy doing and engage in those conversations. And I think that's been a perfect example here, where it's like, well, it's already happened for you with other people. So, that's probably the mindset I need to be, is, do the things that I enjoy, with the thought of, I might meet some really interesting people here that could be, friends for life. Or business partners in this
so,
instance.
I have 2 adult children, 23 and 26 years old. And I've always told them growing up, when they had a hard time, they had moved around a lot. They are both adopted. And I didn't get to meet them and adopt them until they were more like 10 and 12 years old. So when I had met them and they had already moved around a lot, they were having a hard time making friends. And the way I see the way we make friends, especially as adults, it's not a dating site. You don't really meet. That's not the purpose of that. To make friends, you have to lock yourself in a room with somebody and work on something together for an extended period of time. Like, you make friends at school because you are forced to sit next to them. You are forced to work on a project together and get to know them and make the decision, is this somebody that I could see myself doing this with? Would I choose this person to sit down with again and work on a project with them together again? And that's where I think we came in, where we worked on a project for a day together. We had a common goal. It was good. The next time, you were like, do I want to do that again with that person? And you decided yes. And I decided yes. So we both agreed on that. And in agreeing on that, that's where we are. And that's how you make friends. Unlike everything else out there, where, like, you can't go to a bar, have drinks with somebody by yourself, and if the outcome is to make friends and find friends out of that, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
That's it, because I have people say, like, oh, you go out there, you go to a bar and stuff. It's like, yeah, but that's not me. I mean, I'm not going to enjoy that anyway, because I don't, it's just not the way I'm hardwired. My interests are sort of the things that, that I do within in the place that I work, so it's, if I'm going to meet people that I'm really going to get along with, it's going to be like-minded people. People that are just as broken as I am, as a human being. And I think, this is part of where it works.
I will break you more. Don't worry.
I expect so. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
So what is the most American thing you have ever done?
Eat pizza with my hands, apparently.
That's not American. That's just American.
No,
everyone does that.
The most American thing I've ever done. That's a good question, actually, because I don't know. Do you see? I don't know that much about. I know very generic stuff about other cultures. I know what I've seen on TV and whatnot. So, like, oh my gosh, what would you say? Like, we've talked a lot. What have I said to you that I've done that you're like, oh, that is so American? Because I know what you've done that's totally not British. You don't drink tea. So I am totally flabbergasted on that. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't do the traditional outdoor hiking, horseback riding thing that you see on Tampax commercials. The most American thing I've ever done is vote.
Is vote.
Is vote. Which I'm voting this next week, actually, here in the United States. So yes, the most American thing I've done is vote.
I think that's an interesting point
to do it.
That you've made is I don't think either of us are particularly, you know, like I'm not particularly British, I don't think, and you know, and perhaps you're not particularly American, which is hilarious that we're doing this podcast to look at the differences and the culture. Neither of us are in any way, shape, or form qualified to, I think, represent our countries and talk about these things. But fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to have a go and probably alienate a lot of people. we definitely have opinions. Yeah, it might not be the right, but we're going to alienate people along the way, and it's going to be great fun. I'm all for it.
We will alienate people along the way, and hopefully we will learn something from the audience as well, because we are completely open to the idea of you telling us where you think we're wrong. Down in the comments, you know, put it out there and let us know how ridiculous Matthew is being about living in the UK.
Yeah, I mean
that's where we are. So kind of ties in with, where did the idea of an actual podcast come from? Because I already know this. That is my perspective on it. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll be interested to hear your perspective, because I'm struggling to think how we landed on this idea. Part of my problem is I have so many things spinning around my head, idea-wise, and some of it is spoken to with people. I think other parts is apparently daydreaming, or just, you know, my mind just thinking things up, and I lose track of sometimes what's real and what's not real. I know we had several conversations around what we could do with this, but I cannot remember for the life of me how we landed on the concept of two sides of the pond, you know, a Brit versus a Yank. From my memory, it just fell into place naturally, but that might not actually be the reality.
Well, you remember to tell that when you get interviewed by a bigger media source. So, because that's better than my story. But yes, the second time that we hung out, we had spent the day together, and then the next day we spent the night together. Get your minds out of the gutter. And we were hanging out until it was pretty late at night. And then when our business transaction, we'll call it, was done.
You're not making it easy to get people's minds out.
I know. Guess what we were doing? So we sat down, and I did not want the time to end. And so when I tied up all of my loose strings with my business aspect, I asked you, hey, you got a couple of minutes? We could sit down and chat, kind of like off the clock situation. And we had a really good back and forth about a topic that we're going to be talking about in another episode, where the UK has a very different perspective on versus the US. And we were there easily 45 minutes having this conversation, going back and forth, disagreeing and agreeing. And at the end of it, we were still friends, and we still wanted to continue the friendship, which I thought was really cool. And I was at a crossroads in my life where I was like, I need a new goal. I need something that I wanted to work towards besides my day job, because my day job is my day job and my family life is my family life. And I wanted a personal goal to work towards, and I had expressed that to you.
Mm.
And throughout our several conversations, it came up that I had a podcast years ago with somebody, and you saw it, you liked it, and you were like, well, okay, well, why don't you do another podcast? And I hate the idea of talking to myself in a room. Like, it scares the crap out of me to a degree, where you just feel stupid. I've tried vlogging. I have a YouTube channel. But I was like, if I can, what makes me so good at my day job is going back and forth with somebody else and having that interaction in real time. So we had that. And I think it kind of fell into place from there. That's when, those are the thoughts I look back on when I say, that was the moment right there. That was like, I could have this conversation and many others with this person. And I think people would be interested in, and being that you stepped up and actually physically said what I was mentally thinking was the perfect combination. So that's my perspective on how that came about.
Yeah, it is interesting. I remember.
Do you agree with what I said, though? Like that's real.
Yeah,
you were there.
Yeah, I was there, yeah. And I do remember this as well. I think it's interesting with how my mind works because, yeah, we did have conversations and spend quite a bit of time together. And I think perhaps the difference between you and me is I wasn't thinking about doing a podcast. I said to you that I've always been interested in doing podcasts around different topics. It's something that I want the parent company to be doing more of, not necessarily with me, but just more of in general with people. But at the time that I was talking to you, I wasn't, I think, considering, doing something with you. Not that I didn't want to, but just that thought didn't cross my mind. My question to you was, well, what sort of things would you like to do if you're trying to set yourself a goal? What would you want to do? What's of interest to you? I had no idea it would result here. But perhaps it's different for you because you know more about your history, and maybe you saw the opportunity sooner than what I did. But hey, this is how it works.
Yeah, and we are here, and we are pretty much sponsored by, I'm not going to say it, sorry, DARKOCEAN.
There you go.
I'm not going to mess that up. Sorry.
You'll be getting a letter from the boss.
Gotta check my inbox. Yeah. So I think that's really where this whole thing came from. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to bring up or say as our inaugural podcast? Inaugural is the right word, right? It's our first podcast together, like official, putting it out there, letting people know who we are, what we do.
Yeah. This is definitely going to be the number one release of our Two Sides of the Pond podcast on as many platforms as we can find that want to, let us release a podcast. So yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. So I like asking this to people. If you were to tell me just one thing about yourself, which would tell everyone, define who you are, in a sentence, what would you say? You have one sentence to sort of explain exactly who you are as close as possible. What do you tell them?
I would tell them like everybody else, I don't pretend to be anything other than complicated or very or generic. But I feel like I've lived so many different lives throughout my whole life, from childhood to now, that I have so much life experience and street experience. So I may not be the most book smart or tech savvy, but I have a real person's point of view. So give me a shot.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And you?
So I was asked this and I struggled to answer it initially until someone pointed out to me what they think the answer would be. And I completely agreed. And for me, it's, I work a lot. I spend a lot of time working. I love creating things. I cannot switch my mind off from the thoughts and the ideas that it's having. So the thing that makes me happy and feel like I am of value is creating stuff, products, services, things that make life better. Whether that's for companies or whether that's for customers, that's what I do. That's what I believe I'm here for. If there is a meaning behind why we exist, I think mine is very much to create some cool stuff. Hopefully people find it cool and interesting.
So your quote would be to create cool stuff.
Yeah. I'm here to create new things and create stuff that people want to consume, that makes their life enjoyable. Because we rely so much on all these things that we watch or listen to or play with, whatever it is. And yeah, I have lots of ideas and lots of things I want to do, and this is the best way of explaining me is I want to create stuff that you'll use on a regular basis. That makes your life more enjoyable.
That is very cool. I think this is a great medium to use to put those ideas out there and get the feedback, positive and negative. For doing that, for to help hone in on what cool stuff you should create, which is great.
Yeah.
And this was a little bit more of a serious side of it all, but
it took a serious turn, didn't it?
Yeah. But we are both that. We are both serious, and we are screwed up beyond recognition, and that will be coming out all throughout this series, which I think is going to be an amazing thing for people to see and discover, and hopefully come along this journey with us. So yeah, and we have lots of socials out there now, thanks to DARKOCEAN, and which I am forever grateful for, that we are able to put our stuff out there. So I believe we're going to have everything linked below about where to find us, and it's going to be more than just this podcast. That's the goal. So
exactly. Yeah, and we hope you've enjoyed this, gaining a new perspective. Well, not much of a new perspective, this time around, because, we're talking more about us. But yeah, we are going to be going into those differences and similarities between our two cultures. But don't forget to subscribe, follow us on our socials, as Dwayne said. We also have a Patreon as well if you want to support us and be, more behind the scenes and get access to things beforehand. But until then, keep the conversation going. Let us know what you want us to be talking about as well. Got Dwayne here as the Yank, got me as the Brit. We're ready to go, head to head on these things. So, bye for now.